So we must do two things, two great things together to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself. Because these laws, the laws that we find on the two levels of absolute Christian Science and Christian Science work interdependently. They work interdependently. We call them laws of interdependence. And if you watch your consciousness as you go through the years and you have been loving these things and culturing these things of science, you find yourself coming to the point where you cannot separate absolute Christian Science from Christian Science, and you cannot separate Christian Science from absolute Christian Science. You begin to feel, wherever I see the word order, I know life, truth, and love is there. You see, wherever I see the translation of the Christ, I know that behind that is the power, the impulsion from the absolute of that law of truth, life, and love. Wherever I see that law of the Christianity order in expression, I know that is just embedded in, it's just held in the law of life and love on the level of absolute Christian Science. And so whenever I am conscious of the structure of scientific understanding in science, as the science order shows it to me, as the science order shows me what is going on the level of Christian Science, I know that behind that, or that's embedded, that law is embedded in the higher law, the law of the level of absolute Christian Science, of truth and love, you see. So you get this interdependence that is becomes more and more pronounced, I think, within consciousness for us. You see, what's going on really with us is a synthesizing. It's a synthesizing. We are moving away from, or having fulfilled the parameters of the 6,000-year period consciousness within us of analysis, that more and more there is this synthesis, this movement of the synthesis going on within us, that we begin to see how related everything is to everything else, you see. Then we would even go further, could go further and see, well, but the word in Christian Science, the word order, is really embedded in or embraced by the law of life, truth, and love. But those two laws are inherent in, they're implicate in the one life of divine science itself. And so the Christ order, that order that shows us how the Christ manifests its idea, how principle manifests a specific idea, which is inseparable from the law of truth, life, and love, that law which is specifying the whole of truth and adapting it perfectly, that those two laws are one, they are inseparable, but they are embedded in the one truth of divine science. They are embedded in the factuality and the actuality of being being its own infinite self-expression, its own ideal, of being truth itself. And so we would see, too, that the law of the Christianity order, that law that wants to show us the what an idea is, where an idea is, how an idea is relating to its whole universe, that this is embedded, we said, in life and love on the level of absolute Christian science. But in turn, that law of interdependence is implicate within, held within the fact of the one love of Christianity and divine science, that all-embracing sense, that all-embracing sense of the all in all of love. And then just to complete that that flow, we would come to, or be brought to, the sense of science and the law of science, the law of interdependence in science. Now we would see isn't just standing on its own, stuck out somewhere, making its own way, but it is embedded in the whole system, in the whole of the model of being, the whole form of being, the whole structure of being. And so we would see that that law of scientific structured understanding, the candlestick order structure on the level of Christian science, that is giving us the form of our scientific understanding, is really related, interdependently related to that law of truth and love in absolute Christian science, where truth and love says that I hold within myself, love says I hold within myself my own idea, and it is the infinite idea of truth that I hold within myself. And we would see that this is in turn embedded in science on the level of divine science, that this is the idea that is held in the infinite principle love, in the divine infinite principle love. So it's just all of these are rough approximations. They are just attempts to exercise and flexercise, I want to say, to become flexible in the categories, in the system. And everyone can do that, no matter how new or old we seem to be in respect to this subject. We can begin, we can start, and just start to sketch out like an artist would, the big lines. Don't get lost in the details, or what would become for the human mind the details. Oh, let me start with, of course it doesn't matter where you start, I can say that, but if you want to exercise and become flexible in the whole, in the sense of the whole, and the wholeness of the whole, just begin to be that spiritual and scientific artist that begins to sketch out. Well, let me see. Everyone can begin with one, the one. The one. There's only one. The problem would be if we left it there, and many scientists do leave it there. Well, you know, dear, there's only one. There's only one principle. Not knowing the idea of that principle, you see. Each individual consciousness should ask, and would naturally ask, well, what does that mean, there's only one principle? When you want to know what it means, you want to know what's the idea behind that. Is that just an empty concept? There's only one principle and it has no content to it? No, it has an infinite content, and that's the idea. So You see how natural that reasoning process is? That I don't leave it with the one, but I know there's one infinite principle. Well, does that infinite principle do anything? Is it worthwhile? Is it any good? What good is it? Well, it's of infinite good, because it has an infinite idea, and that idea includes the way it works. That idea shows us the way the principle works, that it works through a calculus. It works scientifically. It has a calculus, a way of calculating itself, knowing itself, making itself understood. So we can begin to see ourselves how to understand it by seeing how principle understands itself on the level of divine science. Then I would say, or something would rise up in me and say, well, all right, principle understands itself, but what about me? You know, there's all, hey, yeah. There's always that, don't forget me. Don't forget about me, and that's all right. That selfishness within us is the desire for the divine selfhood. It's the desire to have the pattern of the divine self imprinted upon me. That it's the desire really to awaken. You see, that remnant that is within us is that pattern. It is the pattern of the divine selfhood. We have the seed within itself, the seed of the 7 and the 4 and the 4. And something within us wants that to become alive, to grow, to be the seed within itself that keeps reproducing and reproducing itself and overtaking. It auto-catalyzes, it overtakes the whole of consciousness. It becomes the whole of consciousness. So the what about me is all to do with that. You know, love just shows us everything is all right. Don't think you can't have your desires and your wanting to have an answer, to have a specific answer. At certain points along the way we think, oh, that isn't allowed. Can't do that, can't have that, can't ask for anything, can't expect that, you know, something works out for me. But we can, because the me is the I. It's the I am, huh? There's an I am. And it's the I am within us.